top news headlines from the news desk at the Kittanning paper right now on Radio for Your Neighborhood. AM 1380 and FM 103.7. WTYM, Kittanning, Ford City.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank you all for coming here. We wanted to give an update on some of the cases that are important here in Armstrong County. Before I do that, let me give a couple of introductions. District Attorney Katie Charlton. Here is Armstrong County Chief County Detective Eric Petrosky. Next to me is Kittanning Borough Police Chief Bruce Matthews. Behind me is Trooper Michael Graham. He's of the Pennsylvania State Police Kittanning Crime Unit. He's the investigating officer and the cases we'll be updating you on. Next to him is Corporal Kurt Guntram. He is the Pennsylvania State Police Kittanning Barracks Crime Corporal. And next to him is Lieutenant Eric Simcoe, who is the station commander here at the Kittanning Barracks. So I wanted to give an update on the status of the cases based on incidents which occurred on Good Friday at approximately 9:30 a.m. at 139 South Jefferson Street, Apartment 6. At that time, there was a shooting. The report came through from 911 that shots had been fired. The individual who made that call stayed on the phone with 911 until the responding officer arrived. The initial responding officer was from the Kittanning Borough Police Department. He was Officer Joseph Voskowski. The shooting was alleged to be the result of a drug debt and the result of a robbery for drugs and money, and that's how we've charged the case. It was alleged that an individual owed someone staying at Apartment 6 some money with regard to a drug transaction. That individual was identified as Miss Kenesha Croyle, who then returned to that apartment with two individuals from Beaver County, an Eric Magic McKenzie and a William Flames Lunsford. It was alleged that they drove from Kittanning to Kittanning from Beaver Falls. They parked outside in a Mitsubishi Outlander, and that Outlander was instrumental in filing the charges in this case and determining what had happened in this case. Today, all charges that were filed against those individuals were held by Jamie Owen, the local magistrate here, James Owen, out of Kittanning. He held all charges over. We were just coming from the preliminary hearings, which occurred beginning at approximately 11 a.m. this morning. The charges against Miss Kenesha Croyle. She was charged with conspiracy for armed robbery. All charges against Miss Croyle were held over today. They were bound over to the Court of Common Pleas. Same with regard to Eric Magic McKenzie of Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. He was charged with conspiracy for armed robbery, and all of his charges likewise were held over. They were bound over to the Court of Common Pleas. Mr. William Flames Lunsford of Mount Union, Pennsylvania, was charged with attempted homicide, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and armed robbery. All of his counts were held over, again, bound over to the Court of Common Pleas. And a Miss Jessica Unsworth was also charged with conspiracy for armed robbery. She's from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. Last week, she waived her right to a preliminary hearing, and so all of her charges were bound over as a result of the waiver. It's important, and I need to make this notation, that all charges at this point are merely accusations. All defendants under the law are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. The reason, one of the main reasons I wanted to discuss this case today was because this was a case that happened on a holiday weekend. It was a swift investigation. Arrests and charges were made within several days, and that was the direct result of a collaborative effort of all of these gentlemen standing behind me. And for that, I'm truly appreciative. It's really important that the community work together and that all of our local police officers, all of our departments work hand in hand together. Kittanning Borough was the first to arrive on scene. Immediately, they notified and collaborated with the Pennsylvania State Police, Troop D Kittanning Barracks. The Armstrong County detectives were immediately called out. They assisted at the scene, and they all continued to work together throughout the course of the investigation to develop leads together. And of course, Trooper Mike Graham did an excellent job of piecing all of this together, securing everything that was necessary, getting the case together, and getting it ready to file. Importantly, what was instrumental in filing these charges was the cooperation of the community in providing video surveillance. The video surveillance was key in filing these charges, in making a determination as to what had occurred, and for that we were very grateful to the local community. That happened almost immediately. Everyone was very cooperative with law enforcement in providing those resources to us. So generally speaking, and I think everyone behind me would agree with me, that law enforcement in our county is seeing an increase in crimes of violence that are drug-related. Many times we're seeing individuals coming to Armstrong County, to Kittanning, to other areas of the county because of this activity. Individuals who are not from here and who are part of this activity. And a lot of times these violent crimes are associated with the drug trade in our community. And I'm asking the residents of the county to be vigilant and to report anything that appears suspicious or anyone that appears suspicious, to report that immediately to law enforcement, because the residents know their neighborhoods. They know who belongs, who doesn't belong. They know what's normal, what isn't normal, and law enforcement welcomes that assistance, and they need that assistance. They need the residents to be their eyes and ears and to report these things. We need the residents to put their communities first, to be proactive, and send a clear message that we know what's going on in our communities. We're not going to tolerate people coming here committing crimes, and that this conduct will be reported, and that these individuals behind me are going to work together to solve these crimes, and my office is going to work to prosecute these crimes to the fullest extent of the law. So I want this to be a community first initiative, so the community recognizes how important they are in responding to these crimes, and how important it is for the community to work with law enforcement in my office in helping to solve crimes. So I want to put out this number, and I believe I've handed it out as well, and we have cards for residents for anyone who would like to know the number. But there is a tip line, and it's Community First Tip Line. It's a drug tip line, but we welcome any tips, and callers can remain anonymous, and the information can be kept confidential if that's a concern for the person reporting that conduct. But it's important that we know what's going on, what residents are seeing, and that number is 1-866-NO, N-O, drug, D-R-U-G, 0. 1-866-NO, drug, 0. And so we're asking anyone to use that line if they're seeing things and want to report anything. And again, those callers can remain anonymous and can be kept confidential. But I think as a community, we need to send a message that we're aware of what's going on, and we're going to report these things.
Asking questions about Mr. Lloyd.
Yes.
He was shot. Was there an update to his condition? Is he in satisfactory condition? Is he recuperating? What is his condition right now?
I can say Mr. Lloyd is recuperating.
Okay. Was Mr. Lloyd, was that his apartment? Was he renting, or was he in custodianship of that particular apartment, or was he visiting?
He was a visitor.
So the people that came in would have known he was visiting?
I don't know that I can comment as to what they did or didn't know. We can say he was a visitor. He was present in the apartment at the time.
Okay. The tip line you said was anonymous.
You don't have to remain anonymous, but you can remain anonymous.
And remain anonymous if it comes in. Mm-hmm. So there's no tracking of, if it's a cell phone or a regular number, you're not tracking numbers coming into that line. It's just, it truly is anonymous.
It truly is anonymous. We're asking for tips that we can follow up on. So we're not asking people to, I mean, if somebody wanted, to follow through and tell us who they are and what they want, that would be fine. But if they choose to remain anonymous, then it's simply just an information gathering resource that any department in the county, and it's a county-wide line that anyone in the county can use, so that law enforcement can get a a read on some things that are going on, and maybe law enforcement can use that information. And if the community is reporting it, there may be things that a member of the community doesn't know that we know, and that may be helpful to us in piecing together items of an investigation. And there are things we can follow up on, and that's why people are able to remain anonymous if they wish.
Has this been in effect for a while, or is this
It has been. This number has been in effect for I don't know how long. Maybe you would know, but it's something that I don't think has been out there or that has been generally promoted, and so that's why I wanted to make sure everyone knows that there is a number out there where they can report this activity if they're seeing things. And again, residents know their neighborhood, so if there's someone there that they haven't seen before and things look suspicious, we're asking them to let us know those things. And that doesn't necessarily mean someone's committing a crime, but it may be helpful information to piece together things that we know or that we've heard from other resources. It can be a very useful tool to law enforcement.
Does this ring to a 911 or to your office? Or?
It rings to my office, and again, it's an information gathering. So anything that is an emergency or things that are happening right away, people should certainly continue to contact 911. This is more of a tip line of things that people are viewing that there's not going to be an immediate follow-up on necessarily, like a 911 response would be.
WTYM, Kittanning, Ford City, on the radio at AM 1380 and FM 103.7, and online at WTYMradio.com. Radio, computer, or smartphone. Stay connected to radio for your neighborhood.